missions with EVAs, with science objectives, we really do need to get used to this sort of mental loading and how we're able to support the crew and not, overburden them while still maximizing science. So I'm really excited about kind of this length of time that is relevant for hopeful future exploration and what we're able to learn there. And then the last part of your question about the science team, thanks for asking. The lunar science team will be in the science evaluation room. I know that the live broadcast tomorrow will flash to them occasionally throughout the broadcast. You're gonna see some very excited scientists. They're gonna be absolutely buzzing up there. And what they're gonna be doing is monitoring the crew, of course. The crew will be giving several descriptions an hour, roughly 3 to 4 lunar descriptions an hour, and the science team will get to work right away, kind of synthesizing those, and then we'll actually downlink the rest of the descriptions overnight in advance of a crew conference we'll have the following morning to, again, continue the science discussion. And so the lunar science team is going to be both really excited and then also trying to keep track of the science through those, what we call science sit reps.
Okay, Gina.
Gina Sinceri, CBS News. We know the crew is shooting a film camera. When that film comes back, where is it processed and how will you be able to turn those images around?
The crew operated cameras. There'll be actually 3 of them for tomorrow's flyby, 2 Nikon D5s and 1 Nikon Z9. The 2 Nikon D5s will have the 80 to 400 millimeter zoom lens. That's going to be the prime imaging lens for the bulk of the flyby. There's also a 14 to 24 millimeter lens that we're going to be using during the eclipse timeframe. And then the Z9 camera will be especially used around the time of sunset and sunrise for the corona. And actually what we will do is downlink as many images as possible overnight and throughout the rest of the mission, of course, as bandwidth and downlink potential allows. And of course, we'll be getting some out to the public as soon.
Continually hiding cabin pressure, maintaining PSI in the cabin to allow the crew that opportunity to get their suits on safely.
And I think we'll have to ask the crew tomorrow what they can and cannot feel, but I can tell you what they're going to see. And we had, a lot of conversations when we started scoping the flyby about how fast are they going to be moving? Are they going to have time to see some of these smaller scale features during the flyby? And so we have an amazing visualization lead for the mission, Ernie Wright from the Goddard Space Flight Center, and he has done just amazing work to really try to reproduce as close as possible the illumination conditions they can expect at the speed that it will be moving. And it actually, from the perspective of the spacecraft, they will be moving slow enough to really be able to make robust observations. So it was quite a relief to our team and definitely to the crew when we started playing these visualizations. I don't know what they're going to feel, but I know what they're going to see, and they're going to have time to make observations. Go ahead.
Hi, Michael Atkinson, Houston Public Media. I want to ask about public engagement. I think that in the social media age, it's a lot harder to keep people's attention compared to the Apollo era when there was just 3 TV channels. I'm curious what you guys have made of public engagement thus far and what a successful day tomorrow looks like. I understand it's going to be streaming on a lot of different outlets. What would a successful lunar flyby from the public engagement perspective look like?
That's a really great question. I can assure you that we are tracking the metrics very closely every day, absolutely, and the public engagement has been spectacular. It has, I think, dropped a little bit since the launch day, but I do anticipate a big bump again tomorrow as we have this really key moment in time where we're flying around, we're breaking the Apollo record, we're going to have an eclipse, we're going to have all of these amazing observations. I really think we're going to get another big spike. I'm really looking forward to that. And then I anticipate another big spike when we slash down on Friday evening.
Yeah, I might add to that too that, first of all, I might turn the question back around on all of you and say that, our public engagement team has done such an amazing job to package messaging about this mission, and specifically the lunar science engagement team has been working for months and months and months to make sure that the public has access to the information about the moon. But please help us, right? This is a unifying moment for all of us, and we really, we've put our best foot forward into preparing this mission for success, and we know what it's going to mean to connect to the moon in that way tomorrow. And please, all of you in the room and online, please help us get the word out.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, T.J. Mosquero with the Epoch Times. Thanks for taking the time, and happy Easter. Question for Rick and Lori. Without a landing or parking in orbit, what are you considering the official arrival point? Like when you arrive at the moon, is it when Orion enters lunar gravity? Is it when the flyby begins? Is it the closest point?
Well, I'm looking at Rick here, but from my perspective, as Rick said earlier, when we enter that point where we cross over from being driven by Earth's gravity to being pulled by the moon more strongly than Earth, to me, that's where we'd start. But
I think
give him your...
I was going to give the same answer, so I agree.
I'll give the lunar science example, which is closest approach.
Everybody's point of view.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Alejandro Turnbull for Space Scout. Question for Kelsey. Looking forward to future Artemis missions, how are...
What you're referencing here is, and it's a touch table, right, where you can, put up data of the moon and zoom around different areas of the moon to kind of follow along with what the crew are doing. But we will be engaging with them during the flyby, of course, with the exception of the time when there is that planned loss of signal. And we do plan to be following up on their observation. So again, these 4 people are absolutely ready to give scientifically valuable descriptions, but more brains can help hone in on nuances of the observations that they're making. And so we have allowed time for crew discussion where all 4 of them at the same time will be discussing some scientific question. For example, I believe the first one tomorrow is the near side, far side transition and looking at color and albedo across that transition. They'll be discussing with each other, and I've heard them in simulations, one crew member will say something and the next crew member will say, oh, actually, I saw it this way, and they're actually able to really have elevated science discussions. But we do plan to have that interaction from the ground as well, based on what the science team in the science evaluation room is seeing and hearing from the crew. We'll be able to have a bit of a science dialogue. We have enough hours in the flyby where we'll be able to have a back and forth, which I'm really anticipating is going to enhance science return because we have this amazing back room of lunar scientists and geologists ready to help provide support.
And it's super high tech. I can back her up. I've been in there. It's so cool. You'll get to see it, I think, during the feed tomorrow.
Okay, we'll take several from the phone now, and we'll start with Jeff Faust with Space News.
Good afternoon. Question for Rick. We heard yesterday at the briefing about a mystery smell whose source wasn't identified. It wasn't a cause for concern, but I don't know if you have any updates on whether that smell is persisting and what might be causing it. Thanks.
Sure. Good question. We have been trying to correlate the smell and the crew reports of the smell to a particular event or a changing configuration of the spacecraft. We have a number of heaters that are located near that area of interest, and there's nothing about a heater cycling that we can correlate to the smell. There's nothing about the usage of the toilet that would cause an increase in the concentration to cause a more acute smell or a more mild smell. So right now, there isn't any root cause identified as to what that source is, but we're continuing to proceed with the mission and the use of the toilet nominally.
Okay, our next question is from Stephen Clark with Ars Technica.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. I think my question is probably for Rick as well. You mentioned the checkout tonight of the optical comm system on Orion performing, and also if it checks out and you're able to get to that 100 megabits per second downlink, will that kind of expedite the downlink of some of the photos we're expecting from tomorrow? Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, the optical comm system has been performing really well throughout the mission. We've used it throughout all of the lunar transit. We have 3 sites where we downlink data. We have one in California, one in White Sands, New Mexico, and then a third site, which is kind of a test and a target of opportunity with the Australia National University in Australia. And we've been able to stream video live to that site as well. And yes, if we can get the bandwidth increased to 100 megabits per second, that will absolutely help getting imagery and data from the spacecraft down in a more timely manner.
Okay, we'll go to one more on the phone and then come back here in the room. The next question is from Sana Pashankar from Bloomberg.
Hi, thank you so much for doing this. A question for Dr. Young. Obviously, it seems like an enormous amount of thought and effort and scientific considerations have been put to preparing for the lunar flyby. I was just wondering, when did the lunar science team at NASA start making preparations for the flyby? Did it start like when the astronauts were selected in 2023 or after Artemis 1? Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Not specifically for Artemis 2, but for Artemis science operations in general, it's been a number of years that we've been preparing and integrating with flight operations. I will say flight operations has been incredibly welcoming. I think it's a testament to the fact that, science is one of the fundamental pillars of Artemis, and, specifically for Artemis 2, Rick and Judd and Jeff have been nothing but, really, really welcoming, knowing that, of course, our destination for this mission is, of course, the moon. Specifically for Artemis 2 science preparations, we did, actually start working with the crew pretty quickly after they were selected, more in a classroom training environment, but that did kick off the discussions for our team about how we wanted to develop our science objectives given the mission profile characteristics as we learned more about that, about how the mission profile was evolving. And so that enabled us to really jump off on establishing our science objectives and, with me being selected as the lead for the lunar science for this mission, I was really able to build out our amazing team pulled from several different NASA centers, experts in lunar science, geology, visualization, geographic information systems, teams here at the Johnson Space Center who supported Earth observations from the International Space Station that are actually responsible for developing that gorgeous lunar targeting plan. And so the plans for the flyby profile as we're going to execute it tomorrow probably really ramped up in earnest just over a year ago. But prior to that, there was a lot of work going in with the flight operations team for integrating our new science officer console into mission control, as well as building out the science evaluation room.
Okay, we'll come back into the phone, or pardon me, to the room. Irene, and then we'll go to Tom.
Thanks. Irene Klotz with Aviation Week. For Rick, a couple of flight operations questions. First is, which two astronauts attempted to don the suits quickly, and how much faster did that happen compared to the nominal donning? And on the manual flight demonstration, did the exercise today complete all the, or maybe last night, sorry, I've lost track of days. Did that complete all of the manual operations that you're expecting, and what have you learned so far about the nuances of Orion's handling that you want to kind of continue more studies on post-flight? Thanks.
Of course, thanks for the question there. As far as who donned the suit rapidly, that was Reed and Victor, and then Christina and Jeremy donned it in the quote-unquote nominal time frame. The rapid donning was attempted to be done in about 15 minutes, which is pretty swift, and again, that corresponds with the time that Orion has to feed the leak and maintain cabin pressure before we can get the crew safely in a pressurized environment. As far as the manual piloting that we have left, we have another test on Wednesday that will be in the crew's afternoon after they build the radiation shelter. And then finally, with respect to the handling qualities, I sat in the back of Mission Control during the proximity operations demo. I had just worked the ascent shift, but I couldn't stay away, and I had to watch. And it was pretty spectacular to watch Orion